Spirit of God, pour out your presence in your church tonight. Father, we're calling this a house of healing. We press into you tonight, looking for more of you. Speak to us. Touch our hearts, touch our souls, touch our bodies. Draw us closer to yourself through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen? Amen. Give Jesus a big hand. Cold out there, but quite warm in here. Very nice in here. And it's a good place to worship God and fellowship with one another. And now's the opportunity to move around, greet as many people as you can, all the way around, all right around the building, moving around, greeting.
Heavenly Father, we're going to stand here tonight as one. We want to proclaim you as our King, our Lord, our Saviour. Lord, you've been doing a good work in this church. You've been doing a work in our lives, and Father, tonight is no different. Lord, we come with expectancy, we come with a hope. But Lord, that you'll reveal yourself to us, that your power will transform us, and Lord, that we'll walk out of here in you. To your glory, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Anything can happen here. Is that better? Hey! That being said, I've done weddings where I spoke to more people than that. It's all right. We're going to speak about healing encounters with Jesus, and tonight we're going to have a bit of fun with this. You know, we're going to be speaking about a passage where we've heard this before, the story. So tonight I want to welcome you, recruits, to the FBI. I'm Senior Agent Leigh, and recruits, tonight you're going to be helping me on this investigation into what is going to be a CSI moment. Okay, you're part of the Faith Bureau of Investigation, and we are Christ Scene Investigation Unit. Just so you know. Just work with me, alright? It's okay. It's Sunday night. You can have a bit of a laugh. It's all good. Well, tonight we're going to be looking at an account where Jesus is called upon to heal a girl that's dying. Happens every day of the week for Jesus, maybe, I don't know. But that's what we're looking to investigate tonight. And as we do, we're going to look at three different witness accounts. You guys are going to be looking at them. You're going to be finding the differences in their different statements, bearing in mind that whenever you get three different people's view of what one thing happened, you get three different statements. All you have to do is watch the football result today, and somehow the doctor still has something to talk about, even though they've got thumbs. You know, there's always a way to find positive things, but there's always a way to find detail in certain things. And because my personality and the way that I look at things may be different to the way that you look at things, and you can understand that when three writers write about what they saw, something comes out. But then there's something deeper that goes on here. We all know that God speaks, and we all know that God is speaking to you as He's speaking to me tonight. You need to be investigating this. You with me? Yeah. You're okay? Now look around. There's some older recruits in the room. There's some younger recruits in the room. There's some recruits with funny coloured hair in the room. It's all there. Some of us don't even have hair, but hey, let's not hold back. We're ready? Turn to the person next to you and ask, are you ready? All right. Here we go. Matthew is our first witness statement. Now, we've collected some statements from these guys. Matthew is our first one. You need to know that Matthew has just hosted Jesus in his house. Matthew's a tax collector, just hosted Jesus in his house. And the Pharisees have come asking some questions of Jesus, like, what are you doing? Pharisees are the sort of people who know some stuff, who think that they're better than other people, and sort of starting to use their position. John's disciples, John the Baptist's disciples, have come to question Jesus about stuff as well. And while this is happening, we'll read in Matthew's account. While he was saying this, Jesus was talking, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died,
but come and put your hand on her and she will live. Jesus got up, went with him, and so did his disciples. Just then, a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, "If only I touch his cloak, I will be healed." Jesus turned and saw her. "Take heart, daughter," he said. "Your faith has healed you." And the woman was healed at that moment. When Jesus entered the synagogue leader's house and saw a noisy crowd and the people playing pipes, he said, "Go away, the girl is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After the crowds had been put outside, he went in and took the girl by hand, and she got up. News of this spread throughout the region. Short statement. Matthew's obviously someone who just likes to give some key details. And there's some things in here that I suppose stood out to me, and I won't put you on the spot just yet. Some key things, some key characters are going on. First of all, we've got this synagogue leader. Now, for those of you new recruits who don't understand, the synagogue is like the local church. Okay, a synagogue can be anything from 10 families to a larger group. And in that, there is someone who's responsible for finding the teachers during the week, for someone who's responsible for finding the guy who's going to speak the scriptures on a Saturday, the person who's responsible for recruiting someone to lead the worship. This is the synagogue leader. What is interesting in this moment, that when we know the setting that he's walked into, a conversation is going on. Disciples of John the Baptist, now he's a somebody, are there talking with Jesus. Pharisees are around. He's the somebody. Now you can find this information out if you go back and read the full version of the report. And in that moment, what does this guy do? He comes and he kneels. He kneels before Jesus. Now this is not something that you would see every day. The synagogue leader is someone who has a position, has a status, and he's come and knelt before someone who has no authorised status in the community. People are talking about Jesus, but he doesn't have any position in the church. In fact, many people in the church aren't happy with him or don't believe who he is. Well, they can't work out what he is just yet. Is he a prophet? Is he something more? We're not sure about that. But here he comes in this moment, and he kneels. There is humility in this man. There is something going on in this man, other than the fact that his daughter, as this reporter said, has just died. Character number one. Character number two we're going to pay attention to. There is a woman who is healed. She's been bleeding for 12 years and has come in and touched Jesus. Now, something about this woman that you may have already picked up. It might have been obvious to you, recruit Steve. It might have been obvious to you that this person, if they had been bleeding for 12 years, you would know in those days, as Steve knows, that a person who's been bleeding is unclean. They are not allowed to enter the temple. They are unclean. In fact, it would be wrong of them to actually go up and touch someone. Because if you touch someone, that person is now unclean as well. Can you imagine the shame that must have on someone? Obviously, we have a third character, Jesus. We don't need to talk too much about him just yet. We know that. We know who he is. And there's a fourth character in this room, which is the little girl who's passed away or died. Now, what we're here tonight, recruits, I nearly said church, here we are tonight, recruits, is we have to identify what is going on there, because a girl's about to be resurrected from the dead. Is that possible? And is that possible then? Is it possible now? What can we learn from this? Let's go on to our next witness statement. This one's from Luke. Now, when Jesus returned, now, recruits, don't let me do all the work. You're here for a reason tonight. You're here to grow and to help us solve this case. Watch for what is different, what is added, what is missing. What information can we glean from this? Now, when Jesus returned, a crowd welcomed him, for they were all expecting him. Then a man named Jairus, a synagogue leader, came and fell at Jesus' feet, pleading with him to come to his house, because his only daughter, a girl of about 12, was dying. Already you would have picked up some differences, I'm sure. We have a name. Now we have a name. Jairus is his name. And not only is this little girl, originally, Matthew, you said she was dead, but here he's saying she's dying. So we've got some statements that we need to corroborate. We're going to work out what's going on with this a bit later on. Luckily we've got a third. Maybe Matthew just talks big picture stuff and just gets the big points out here. He's not concerned about some of the details that are in here. And the girl, 12 years of age. Today said she's just starting high school. If this is his only daughter, then maybe you can start to see why this man who has a certain standing in community has run up and fell at the feet of someone who is nobody in front of people who would expect more from him. We continue. As Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately the bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me." Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." We understand that Jairus has come and asked for healing for a girl that is dying. There is an urgency to this request. Yet along the way, this woman comes up and the crowd, there's not just Jesus and a few people walking to the house. There is a crowd around him, and all of them, as it said, are pressing in on him. They're all bumping into Jesus, yet somehow, something about this moment, Jesus feels something. What's interesting in here, in this account, that Luke identifies, now Luke's a doctor, so he might have known about this case. For 12 years, this lady has been trying to find healing. 12 years. Yet no one could heal her. Something about this. There's something about this. If you've been going about for 12 years, surely that's going to be doing something inside you. Where has she come to push through crowds, to push all the way through when she knows physically touching someone else would deem them unclean, and that would mean even further rejection for her? What has caused in her, what has gone on in her mind that's causing her to push through a crowd to get through to Jesus? Did you pick up on it? What did she touch? Was it the man or the clothing? And not just the clothing, the edge of the clothing. So even she knew in herself the rejection and the shame that comes with this, and she knew the ramifications about touching someone. So rather than risk really offending Jesus, she's gone, "I'll just touch his cloak." Now, I assume that some of you have been on public transport or have been in a crowd, and when people are pushing in and against you, you're getting touched all over the place. There's something going on. But to feel that your cloak has been touched, there is something special in that moment. Jesus identified it to me. He felt something. Power has gone out. Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that thought. You've got to love Peter. He calls Jesus and everything. He just speaks the obvious. How can you ask who touched you? Everybody's touching you. You've got to love it. You've got to love disciples like that. They're going to tell you the blatant obvious. Yes, I don't have hair, I know, because many of you young people have told me that. Now, as other things you might pull out of that passage so far also, what did the woman do when Jesus called her out? She came and fell at his feet. And she already knows that the healing's happened. She already knows that the miracle has been performed. What more? She could have just appeared through the crowd and that would have been done. But she humbles herself once more, doesn't she? Didn't just come back and stand eye to eye. She's fallen to his feet. While Jesus was still speaking, someone came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. Your daughter is dead. This is where Matthew got it from. Your daughter is dead. Don't bother the teacher anymore. Hearing this, Jesus said to Jairus, don't be afraid, just believe and she will be healed. When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John and James and the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. Stop wailing, Jesus said. She is not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. He took her by the hand and said, my child, get up. Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then Jesus told them to give her something to eat. Wow. What do you pull out of this? What do you understand here? What do you see that's different from Matthew's story to Luke's? When the visitor from the house came and met Jairus along the road, who did he refer to Jesus as? Teacher, not healer, not someone of power or the miraculous, but as teacher. I think there's something in that. We might come back to that later. Stop wailing, Jesus said. She is not dead but asleep. What is the crowd's response? They laughed. Do you reckon it was a joyful laugh? No. They know the young girl has died. They were in acts of mourning, crying, wailing. They were letting it all out. They were playing instruments. They were in a moment of grieving and process. This isn't just a shock, a sudden thing. They know this. And Jesus says, she's not dead, but asleep. He took her by the hand and said, my child, get up. Her spirit returned at once she stood up. Then Jesus told them to give them something to eat. Now an astute recruit knows what I'm about to say. Don't they, recruit? Have a go. Not by the look on your face. Have you ever seen a ghost eat food? Are you aware of ghosts eating material things? The eating may be an evidence to something. The people were evidenced earlier that she was dead by laughing at his assumption that she was just asleep. Maybe there's a reason for this food. More than just nourishment to someone who's been sleeping down, laying down for a while. Body may have already started to go through some process. But food brings evidence. Jesus did the same thing when he came back, did he not? I think there's something here, maybe for another night. When someone dies, it's not the end. Sleeping, not gone, not finished, just asleep. And spirit returned. Jesus has called her back to the land of living. For another night, another message. But just to whet your appetite. Let's move on to the third and final witness statement. Let's go to Mark Now, we haven't got the whole account here because a lot of it just corroborates exactly what Luke has said, but there are some differences in there. Let's have a look at the start. Then one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, we know that. He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." She was in the process of dying. Matthew, we're not going to listen to everything you say. We understand you've got a certain point of view. We're just talking about the big picture, returning someone from dead to life. But there's a process here. Daughter's dying. So you can understand, if it's her only daughter, he is got something going on in his mind too. He is really driven to see something right now. Is there anything more to this one? A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she got worse. This woman has financially invested into all that she has to the point she has nothing left. Desperation, last chance sort of stuff is kicking in here. That has got to change the way you approach something. If this is your last chance, if this is everyone else seems to not have an answer, this is it. It's going to explain why she acted the way she did. The rest of the story in the account of Mark is much the same. There is one thing that he adds at the end, and we haven't got the screen here, but it is something for you, and that is the words that he spoke to the little girl. Talitha koum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. There is a sense of calling. Jesus has called the young one. Now, you've just had 3 statements. You've just seen some things. We understand Jairus has come, Father has come to ask this person, this healer, this person who has got something special about him in Jesus, come, and I believe in my heart that you can do something. You can bring life to my kid. Along the way, this woman who has her own journey for many years interrupts the story, finds healing of her own. Jesus then continues the full direction and brings a little girl back from death to life. That's what we've got. What can we learn about this? What can we gain from this? And for me, 3 questions come out. 3 questions come out. The first one, and we look for more evidence, the first one to correlate the story here, the first question that came to me is, who performed the first miracle? Was it the woman or Jesus? Who performed the miracle? Did Jesus initiate anything? Did he engage the woman? Or did she approach him? In fact, the only engagement from Jesus that we see in this story is at the end of her healing, after she's been healed. He speaks. He knows power has come from him. But the woman has engaged the miracle. Is that for us? Can we initiate the miracle? Can we initiate the miracle? In John 14:12, Jesus is talking to his disciples and he says, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. Jesus is saying, you will have these moments where you will perform miracles, you will do these things, you will cast out demons, you will speak truth into life, you will bring people to the Father, you will do things that people around are going to be amazed at. You will undergo suffering and survive. You'll come out of it with a sense of strength, because people around go, how did you get through that? You'll be able to face your struggles with a peace that others will go, what's that about? Second question. And I really wrestle with this one. Why, Jesus, did you stop and single out a person who has been living for 12 years in shame and rejection and put her in front of everybody, in front of the crowd. Why would you do that? You're on a mission to go and there's an urgency, you're on a mission to go and bring a little girl to life, to save someone from dying. Here you stop and take time out to find out someone, and he must have known, to find someone who's been going through rejection for so long and stand them up in front of everybody else. Why would he do that? The physical healing, the miracle had been performed. Was it not finished? Was there more to it? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. There was more for that lady than just the physical healing. There's so much more to be gained yet that hadn't been finished. Have you picked up on what it is? In that moment, someone who was on the outcast of society through what has been going on has been called back in to the centre. The person that was rejected is now being drawn into the middle. How did this happen? Do you remember what Jesus said? What was the reference, the name that he called out to this woman? Daughter. Now we do know that in other contexts Jesus will use the word woman to talk to someone. But in this situation he goes, daughter, your faith has healed you. Daughter, you're part of the family now. Daughter, you're not on the outside, you're on the inside. The restoration of self, the restoration of belief in who you are, still needed to occur. Jesus had to say to this woman, and I think that's for some of us tonight, we can go through physical healing, but there's a mental health that we need to deal with as well. This isn't all about the physical. There is a spiritual, and there is also the emotional, the mental health side that goes with this. Now, Jesus could have moved on. The physical healing was what she saw. But there's something about Jesus. He knows us better than we know ourselves, does he not? And he wanted to go that little bit further, and he wanted to finish the job and welcome them back in and to restore her mind. Now we know that Jesus does this. We know that God is concerned about that part of who we are. Romans 12:12, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We know that he is not concerned just about the physical state that we are now, that we need to change this. But maybe it wasn't just her that needed to be changed. Because, recruits, if you take a step back, and if we want to understand and believe that God actually wrote this Bible, if we want to believe that God has inspired these witness statements, then the third question for me is why? Why is this story about the woman bleeding written about and included in a story about a little girl being raised from the dead? Surely raising from the dead trumps bleeding. Surely raising from the dead is a greater miracle. Why? Why do these three people, include that in the statement, in the report? From this vantage point, I want to suggest tonight that when the servant from Jairus' house came to him and said, don't bother the teacher anymore, your daughter is dead, that maybe faith started to waver. And God, in his infinite wisdom, knew at that moment he needed something more. We all have a limit on our faith. Some of us believe God with anything, that's all there, that's cool. then all the way back to those that have no faith at all. And in there, some of us, things happen and we start to question. Things happen and start to move people away from understanding God. Understand that not just that God's real or that God's there, but He's calling to you personally. And in this moment, a person who is responsible for looking after the local church has just been told his daughter has just died. His only daughter has just died. And it doesn't take a rocket science to work out what that's going to do to that man. I'm no longer asking for healing. What am I asking for now? Death has happened. It is final. Further to this, what is the reference to who Jesus is by the servant? A teacher, not a healer. The thought has already been put into his head. This man can't help you anymore. He hasn't got what it takes to do what needs to be done. And this is no longer a matter of physical healing. This is now for Jairus. This is a health condition of the mind. He needs to believe something. He needs to trust something. And can I suggest that in this moment, that maybe why this story is so important about the woman, right as this news comes, right as they were speaking, as Jesus was speaking to this woman, the servant turned up. He overhears it. In that moment, he turns and he says, trust me. Just trust me. Don't worry. Trust me. Just believe. You've just seen something. See, faith is believing what is unseen. Trust comes from what we see. And tonight, for some of us, maybe we need to be reminded. We have seen healing in this space. We have seen Jesus engage with people around us in this space, in this time, in this world, in this globe, right here in Spires. Where your faith has a limit and is starting to doubt, then maybe we should trust the witness of what is going on around us. So what can we learn about encountering Jesus and His healing? 3 things. Firstly, 1, He's never too busy for you. You're worthy of His attention. Young person, old person, everybody in between. Full head of hair or no hair at all. You are worthy of His attention. Someone else might come forward, someone else might have a bigger issue, someone else might be dying and you've just got a flu. It does not matter to Jesus. He's always got space and time for you. Why? Not because he's now in a space where he can be beyond time. Because you are worthy. You're worthy of His attention. You're worthy amongst the business to call forward and go, daughter, son, you're worthy of that. Matthew 15:27. Yes, it is, Lord, she said, and the woman who is still crying out for healing for her kid. Another occasion. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. A lady speaking to Jesus about the fact that her young ones need healing. And Jesus has said to her, it's not my time. I'm here for the Jewish people. I'm here for God's people. Not for you guys. She was not part of the Jewish faith. And her reply, even the dogs eat the crumbs. You know, aren't I worthy, Jesus? Jesus' heart, His compassion cannot be restrained by cultural tradition. His heart goes beyond all that. And He says, you're right. Go, your young one's here. Cultural background, heritage, all that means nothing, church. We need to understand that Jesus will speak and meet to you because you're worthy. You're worthy. Second thing that we can learn about this story is we need to be intentional and deliberate with our approach. If we are going to engage Jesus in the miracle, if we're going to call out and get his power to interact with our lives and bring healing, we need to be intentional. Because if anything from these stories, it's not just about desperation. That's just an understanding that Jesus is the only hope left. It's about being intentional with what we're after. If only I touch his cloak, not even him, just touch his cloak, I will be healed. She knew what she wanted and she went after it. Crowd aside, pushed away at the front. I'm going to be intentional with what I want. I'm going to be deliberate, and no is not an answer here. I'm going. Jairus has moved to Jesus, and there's all these people around that he knows he's got to have position for, and he has to humble himself in front of all them and do something that he knows he'll get criticised for and fall at the feet of this man. It did not matter. His daughter's life was at stake. He was deliberate and intentional, and he went for what he wanted. Luke 11:18 says, I tell you, even though he will not get up and give you the bread because of friendship, yet because of your shameless audacity, he will surely get up and give you as much as you need. This is a parable. Jesus is telling us that if you go and ask, it doesn't matter if you have friendship or relationship, the guy's going to get up because you're just asking at the wrong time, like in the middle of the morning, get out of bed, I need some bread. No. He's talking about the fact that if you come and ask me, no matter when, no matter how, if you just come and ask me and you're intentional about it, response. So I say to you, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock, the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Be intentional. Ask specifically what you want. Hey Lord, can you heal me now? Ask for it. This is what he's asking us for. And then the third one is to trust beyond doubt. We need to trust that when our faith falls short and even wavers on the verge of doubting God's interaction in our life and the power for us, the healing may not come and start to waver on the doubt. Trust at that point. Jesus' compassion will carry you the rest of the way. Hold on that thought. Trust that when your faith falls short, trust that Jesus' compassion will carry us the rest of the way. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Church, at this point, our brain doesn't match our hearts. Our heart tells us we can do something, but 1 and 1 does not always equal 2 in our mind. We talk ourselves out of things. And we need to learn to let go of this and accept that Jesus has got something better for us. We might not know how to get there, but Jesus does. And it may not be that path. It might be this way, because that's a safer, better, more productive, efficient, or it might actually coincide with the Master's plan to actually engage someone else's life in the process. Jesus could have taken a path straight to Jairus' house and missed the woman altogether, but in that moment, intersected with someone else who needed healing in that moment. That woman was healed, but it also gave Jairus that little bit to get him across the line. Trust the witness. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so you may overflow with the hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Even though my brain says it can't be done, I'm just going to hope that it can. I'm going to trust in you, Lord. And as we do that, who fills who with joy? Who fills who with hope? God does. It doesn't say that as I trust in him, I will start to grow. He says, as I trust in him, the God of hope will fill me. Sometimes we've got to let go of our understanding. Now, I've sat in these chairs as you sit in these chairs. I've heard Pastor Gordon call for healing in not just this series, but in the last few years that I've been part of your family. And in those moments that I'm sitting there, confession time, in those moments that I'm sitting there, I know that there's probably 3 or 4 steps. I get the cheat sheets. I'm right here. I can only take 3 steps forward and it doesn't look like I've moved forward yet, but I have. No, you guys have to walk 3 rows maybe. In those moments, my head starts to tell me what my heart doesn't think. My head says, oh, Leigh, you're not really worthy of stepping forward at this moment. Leigh, it's just a sore knee. It's your own fault. You've been playing sport the wrong way for so many years. You don't need to be healed. Well, no, hey, there's other people who've got cancer or other things. They need the healing right now. Our head starts to talk. But Jesus encounters what we learn from this is that I am worthy to step forward, even when that is happening. And I've seen people heal here. Heck, I've prayed for people and seen tumours removed and backs healed and all sorts of stuff, sickness disappeared. Trust the witness. Church, it's time to respond. Now, we're not going to open no magic pill right now. And it's good to know that this one doesn't taste like medicine anymore. If you haven't got communion, just put your hand up and we'll make sure that we get some to you. So, Tyrone, I see that hand. Anyone else not get one? There's some right behind you. All good. When Jesus died on the cross, all those thousands of years ago, he did that with the knowledge of you. He knew you were coming. He knew your needs. He knew that this was going to happen. He knew that we are a fallen people. Yet out of the crowd, he still wants to call to you. So tonight, as we eat the bread together, remember that what Jesus did on that cross has been done. It's done. We ain't going back and doing it again. It is done. Nothing you will ever do will change the response of what happened on the cross that day. He died so that you will have life after death, and the power of God will be evident in your walk today. As you eat, reflect, Lord, what are you saying to me tonight? Do I need a mental health check? Do I need a physical health check? Do I need to get my faith back in alignment? Let's eat together and reflect. Jesus' blood on the cross that was spilled for us was that we would have new life. New life now, new life then. Then, being what is the future in front of us. Now is what's in your head. That thought that you need to let go of, that struggle that you've been going through, that healing that needs to happen. Life now. In a moment, church, the team's going to come back up. We're going to finish with a song. And you know I'm going to invite you to come forward. To touch Jesus. To seek healing tonight. You just know it's coming. I believe the miracle for both Jairus and the woman started way before the event written in the Bible. They had to come to a point where they realised Jesus is the only way. That thought had to happen before she pushed through that crowd. It had to happen before Jairus left home to seek out Jesus to heal his daughter. That decision had to be made. At that point, the miracle started to happen. As we drink tonight, you've had a thought in your mind. Maybe now's the time to commit. Lord, start the miracle now. The team's going to come back up. And you might want to join me already on this. I don't think I want to wait any longer. Pre-drink if you need to pre-drink. It's all right. Jesus knows. It's all good. Make that commitment now before you drink. Because if you truly believe that the healing power of Jesus is alive and well, if you believe that what he did on the cross was not just for then, not just for now, not just for the future, then when you start that decision-making process, Lord, I need healing. I want to believe in what you say. When Jesus said, this is my blood, so that you may have new life, then you drink it with belief. And where your belief is not quite there because of whatever doubts kick in, trust that he will carry you further than you can go. Church, let's drink together. Oh, Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for all that you've done. Jesus, you knew us before we were born. You knew your mission before we were even conceived. Holy Spirit, now, we want to respond to you. We want to respond to your calling. We want to respond to those words, little girl, get up. Lord, it's not your intention for us to live in the pain, not to live with that mental anguish and misunderstanding and misbelief that we're not worth it of your time, that we're not worthy of your healing. Holy Spirit, I know that you have already placed the specifics in our mind. Jesus, help us now to respond where our doubt may be short, where our faith is full. Carry us the rest of the way, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Church, on your feet, let's respond, let's call out to Jesus, and you just touch him here. Just reach out and touch him. Heavenly Father, we want to give you all praise, all honour, all glory in this place. Holy Spirit, we want to claim the requests that have been offered to you tonight. Lord, for those words that have been yelled out to you, Father, heal them in Jesus' name. Lord, not for our glory, but for yours and yours alone. Lord, we may reap the benefit, but Lord, the glory is all yours. Jesus, we thank you that your heart is for each and every one of these people down the front tonight. Lord, we want to stand with them as one. And thank you, Lord, for all that you do in our lives. Lord, yours is the glory in Jesus' name. And all the people said, Amen. Church, what a night, eh? And this is only like the third one. There's still more to come. If you've been hiding at the back because you don't think you're worthy yet, just know next week there's another one coming. If you know someone that needs healing, whether that's physical or emotional or whatever, then invite them. By the testimony of the witness, invite them. You know they need it. You know they need it. Church, we've got raisin toast. We've always got raisin toast. There's a coffee machine that's ready to take your money. There's Information Central out there ready to answer your questions. And if you're not in a Connect group and you want to feel connected to the church, then just speak to them because the Connect groups are starting this week. Be blessed, church. Our God is alive. Enjoy. I think I'm done. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your night.